I'm gonna go listen to a JPEGMAFIA song now.
Big booty ho!
JPEGMAFIA's newest album, I Lay Down My Life For You, is simply incredible, as to be expected. And I figured that there's no better album out right now that I can use to revive one of my favorite shorts formats, back when I was only posting those. So today we're going to be looking at every single sample and interpolation Peggy used on this record. Now, real quick disclaimer, since this album is still relatively new while I'm filming this, there is going to be a good chance that there's just some samples that haven't been discovered yet. But still, I'll do my best to cover the samples that we do actually know about. And trust me, there's definitely enough to talk about. But alright. Let's get started. Okay, first track. I scream this in the mirror before I interact with anyone, and already we're starting with a pretty crazy sample. This song actually samples music from the boneless emote from Fortnite.
I hate when niggas be stressed about what you be doing more than they worry about their own shit. I hate when these...
I swear, only JPEGMAFIA could take a goddamn Fortnite sample and turn it into something this hard. Although, to be fair, some Fortnite emotes go kinda crazy. Next up, we have the big single from the record, Miedo, and this one has 3 big samples. First of all, the Big Booty Hoes vocal chop comes from the 1995 track Hoochie Mama by 2 Live Crew.
Big booty hoes, hop with it. Big booty hoes, hop with it.
You niggas is bitches, I don't wanna kick it. Peggy, I aim for the fences, you niggas don't swing.
Then there's a much more subtle one about 2 minutes into the track from this 1972 Lynn Collins song, Think About It. It's kinda tough to hear since it's mainly added for texture, but if you pay real close attention, you can actually hear what I think is the shaker from Think About It playing. And finally, we have this little break at 152, which comes from the 1996 movie, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood.
I said, do we have a problem? Oh, we got a problem, brother. Right here. Do we have a problem?
All great samples here, and while the movie clip is very funny, my favorite among these 3 has to be Big Booty Hoes. I mean, it's Big Booty Hoes. And now on to track 3, I'll Be Right There, and this one is just such a classic R&B sample flip, with the vocals coming from the 1992 track Don't Fade Away by the girl group Jade.
Hey, bitch, I'm back outside. They're getting surprised when they're hearing these beats like epiphany.
Now, obviously, you've got the more direct sample of the vocals that break up the instrumental every once in a while, but I actually prefer how Peggy chomps it up in the intro and outro. Still though, we are absolutely 3 for 3 here so far, and spoiler alert, there aren't that many misses when it comes to the sampling on here. Now we've got track 4, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and before I talk about the sample, gotta of course mention the title being a reference to DMX's 1998 debut studio album of the same name. But as for the track itself, it's heavily built around a 2023 Brazilian funk instrumental called Upa Upa Pocoto. And it's got this fun little sample on the back of this classic Brazilian vignette. This is probably my least favorite sample so far, but I can still appreciate JPEG pulling from such a cool genre like Brazilian funk, especially since it's been seeing a lot more popularity in the States recently. But fortunately, we get to one of my absolute favorite samples across the record with this next song. The next track, New Black History featuring Vince Staples, samples the 2014 Future song Covered in Money for its hook. And funnily enough, this isn't even the first time Vince has rapped over this sample, since his 2015 track Senorita actually samples this exact same part of Covered in Money. Now, I'm simply a very big Future fan, and so anytime he gets sampled in a song is pretty cool to me, and I think Peggy agrees with me on this, since this isn't even the last time he appears in the sample credits. Kinda. But now on to track 6, Don't Rely on Other Men, another single, and this sample is another one in contention for my favorites across the entire album. The vocal chop used here is from the pilot episode of the HBO series Succession.
I hear you went down. Did you go down?
Oh yeah, I did.
I hear you went down, 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 down. I hear you went down.
Absolutely insane flip here. Like, how do you even get the idea to sample something like this? It's not even an iconic line from the show as far as I'm aware. Anyways, next up we've got Vulgar Display of Power, with a pretty cool pair of samples as well as an interpolation from 2 of the most iconic hip-hop tracks of all time. First of all, we have this vocal chop from Tupac's legendary diss track, Hit 'Em Up.
Little Kim, is you coked up or doped up? Little Junior Whopper click smoked up. What the fuck is you? Coke, dope.
Just a classic bit of vocal sampling for texture, but it's still a very nice touch. And then there's a very similar vocal sample, as well as an interpolation in the chorus of the 1994 Method Man song, Bring the Pain.
I came to bring the pain, hardcore from the brain. Let's go inside my astral plane. I bring the pain, I bring the pain, I
Definitely some more subtle ones here, but it makes sense, I guess, considering that this track is absolutely the most metal adjacent across the entire track list. Hence why it's named after a 1992 album by heavy metal band Pantera, who also, fun fact, was the inspiration for the Terraria boss Plantera. Shout out all my Terraria fans out there. But anyways, moving on. I know I'm repeating myself here, but again, we have a crop of phenomenal samples on this next track, Ex-Military. But before talking about them, I do have to once again mention the title, being a reference to the debut mixtape by Death Grips. And given the similarities in the music between Death Grips and Peggy, as well as his status as an ex-veteran, the title fits perfectly. But now getting into the actual samples, we start off with a pretty interesting one, with the first half of the beat being based around a 1964 Wendy Reen track called After Laughter Comes Tears.
I heard you got dirt on me. My country encouraged me. I just bought a dirty piece.
This track was also famously sampled in the song Tears off of 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang Clan, and it was also sampled in an Ariana Grande song, which is just very funny to me. And despite how iconic that sample is, what's crazier is that I don't even think it's the best one on this song. I actually prefer the sample used on the second beat, which is from a 2015 track from Spanish rock band Porter called La China.
Every tweet, it come with a cost. Every enemy paint him soft. If you break up, delete it and crop. But my
certainly not as iconic as the previous, but I love the dramatic sound in the instrumental with the sample used. It is so good. And finally, we end with a pretty minimal one, with the drums in the outro being from the 1972 Michael Jackson song Ain't No Sunshine. An excellent final touch in my opinion. Those drums are so clean. And overall, 3 super good samples here, leading to a top 3 track on the album for me. Now we've got track number 9, and probably the funniest titled one on here, Jihad Joe. And interestingly, this is another one where the only known sample so far is in the drums, with them coming from a 1969 Cold Grit song called It's Your Thing.
every time I get to sticking and I come around with that Kimber, I'm wearing a mask. These hoes still in AD.
Also, real quick side note, but does anyone think that drums back in the 60s and 70s just hit way harder than they do nowadays? I don't know, something about the acoustics of them is just really cool to me. Let me know if you agree with that take in the comments. But now on to track 10, JPEG Ultra, featuring Denzel Curry. Another great title, by the way. And the sample is similarly very great, coming from a 1975 song by Japanese jazz rock band Akira Ishikawa and his Count Buffaloes called Get Up. Those horns are absolutely insane, and Peggy flips the sample flawlessly. Great Denzel verse too. I love his intro and outro where he sounds like the host of a game show or something. Also, I can't be the only one here that thinks the album cover for this sample is like ridiculously cool. Off topic again, I know, but like, damn. Alright, and now we finally get to my personal favorite track on the album, with one of my absolute favorite samples. Although this one does have a decent bit of lore behind it, so I'll try to explain it as best as I can. Either On or Off the Drug samples a quote-unquote 1973 song called Turn on the Lights. But the catch is that this track is actually a blues-style AI cover of Future's 2012 classic, Turn on the Lights. See, I told you Future would come back here.
Turn on the lights. I'm looking for.
Turn on the lights. I'm looking for her.
Baby talking voice of passion, I feel like it's corny if you ain't on code. Niggas be on my dick for nothing.
And look, before you roll your eyes at the mere mention of AI in a song, look, I get it, I'm famously also a big hater of AI when it comes to its use in music, but I truly think that Peggy used it in the most tasteful way that he could, since it's literally only used as a sample for the instrumental. Like, it's not like there's an AI-generated rap verse on the song or anything, like, no real self-respecting artist would actually put that on their album, right? And if you are still on the fence, please just give it a full listen and you'll most likely see how incredible it really is. An all-timer for sure when it comes to JPEGMAFIA tracks. Getting into the home stretch now, we've got track number 12, Loop It and Leave It. Definitely a sleeper favorite for me with a pretty nice sample, again in the drums. They come from a 1968 Sly and the Family Stone track, Sing a Simple Song.
4-5 on the hip, ready pronto. 2 cups champagne and a rhino.
See, we've got another piece of evidence here for my theory that drums in the 60s and 70s were just better. But alright, now we've got the penultimate song of the album, Don't Put Anything on the Bible, featuring Buzzy Lee, who, fun fact, is the daughter of Steven Spielberg. And its sample is one that I am by far the least familiar with, so please bear with me here. The oh yeah in the beginning comes from a commentator during a 2023 NBA match between the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks.
For the lead.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Now, I know next to nothing about basketball, so I can't really tell if whatever play that was made warranted such a strong reaction from the commentator, but it's still a very interesting sample nonetheless. Although I'd probably have to call it my least favorite on the album if I had to pick. Fortunately though, we end with another excellent sample on the 14th and final track on I Lay Down My Life For You, I Recovered From This. This song heavily samples and I believe also interpolates a 1986 Janet Jackson song called Funny How Time Flies When You're Having Fun.
It's not that I don't love my bitch, but I don't love these side hoes neither.
And yeah, the reason I would consider this also an interpolation is because I think Peggy might have added in some vocal layers of the same phrases that he used in the sample just for some extra oomph. Personally though, I think it was a very smart choice. But with that, we've covered every single sample and interpolation on JPEGMAFIA's I Lay Down My Life For You. That has been discovered so far, of course. Again, make sure to like the video if you want to see some more sample breakdowns for other albums, and subscribe to my channel so you can see new uploads from me every Friday. Also, leave a comment letting me know what your favorite sample on this record is, or maybe even just your favorite song. And of course, if you made it through this video and still haven't heard the album in full, I'd highly recommend it. One of my favorite projects of the year so far. And finally, if you'd like to support the channel further, you can now become a member and receive early access to every single new video of mine, as well as a special shout out from me at the end of them. So join up if you're interested, it really does help me out a lot. But yeah, that's about it.